Just 2 hours away from New York City, Hudson, New York, a small city of about 6,000 people, is a prime weekend getaway spot. But it's also the site of one of the country's first citywide experiments in Universal Basic Income, or UBI. Last October, 25 Hudson residents began receiving $500 a month. Joan Hunt is the director of Hudson Up, the city's guaranteed income pilot. It receives its funding from the Spark of Hudson Foundation and former Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang's nonprofit organization, Humanity Forward.
The question is always, so why Hudson? And I think there was interest from both parties in sort of the size and scale of the community here in Hudson and the potential of a pilot like this, and definitely the need.
Lyra Campbell is a retired educator who has lived in Hudson since 2002. She says that need became clear to her not long after moving here, when she was speaking with a friend.
She said, yeah, I gotta move. Someone from the city came and bought the house. The new owners raised the rent and can't afford it. That was the first story of many.
According to the real estate website Zillow, the average home value in Hudson went up by nearly 60% in the past 10 years. During that time, the median household income for Hudson residents stayed below $40,000 a year. And despite a relatively low unemployment rate, about 23% of Hudson's population lives in poverty. Since 1990, roughly 2,000 people have moved away. Hudson's mayor, Kamal Johnson, says that gentrification is driving the exodus from the city.
We see a lot of transplants from New York City and from other big cities that are now coming here, and that's tough on the people that grew up here. You see a lot less of the people you went to school with because they're forced to move to the outskirts of the city.
Even in the midst of the pandemic and the resulting financial crisis, Hudson home values rose by 10% since last year. Meanwhile, longtime residents are finding it difficult to stay in the city without government assistance.
It's become really hard for families to find affordable spaces outside of subsidized housing.
Claire Cousin grew up in Hudson and now sits on the city's housing authority.
Most people that have children are only looking to get on wait lists for subsidized housing because that's the only thing that is sustainable and affordable for them. I've known people that have contacted me for help as an advocate because they've been on the wait list for 3 years. And their only alternative is to squeeze their families into smaller apartments for higher rents.
That's where Joan Hunt says the Hudson Up pilot can fill in the gap.
We see UBI as a real opportunity for folks to stay in their community, to be able to maybe take on a little bit of an extra burden when it comes to rent.
The concept is simple. For the next 5 years, 25 Hudson residents will receive $500 a month, direct deposited either into an account at a local credit union or onto a prepaid debit card. The participants can then spend or save the money in any way they see fit.
I can hear a lot of people being like, you're giving people $500 a month and they don't have to do anything for it. People are going to be spending their money on things that they don't need. What do you say to somebody who has those objections?
There is a history of judgment when it comes to people in poverty, and this misconception that people with limited resources don't know how to make decisions that are best for them and their families, when in fact they're the experts in their own experience and they do know what's best for them and their families.
Hudson Up put the word out about the program through local organizations and advocates, including Claire Cousin, who also heads up the board for the grassroots Hudson Catskill Housing Coalition.
It seemed really far-fetched, so I spent most of my time explaining it to other folks, trying to get them to not be so skeptical, just to apply.
Hudson Up also won the support of Mayor Kamal Johnson, who held a virtual town hall with Andrew Yang last September to explain the concept of universal basic income.
If this trial demonstrates that people live better as a result of something as straightforward as getting $500 a month for 5 years, there is no reason that we as a country cannot make this happen for everyone.
Eventually, 488 eligible Hudson residents entered the lottery for Hudson Up. One of them was Lyra Campbell.
Then I get this communication, don't forget, tonight is the last night to put your name in for the lottery for UBI. And I said, I'm not doing that. And then my mind said, why not?
Campbell filled out and submitted a short questionnaire. 5 days later, She received a call telling her that she had been chosen as one of the first 25 Hudson Up participants.
When it happened, I was totally thrown over the moon. I think I screamed, and then I went and said to my husband, guess what? Because I felt like I was going to bust.
Campbell says that even though she and her husband can afford the home they rent in Hudson, the extra $500 a month made a big impact in their lives during a trying time.
My husband had been diagnosed with cancer. So when someone you love and care about is diagnosed, a family member, you want to do everything you can so they could be healthy and safe and get through it. And then the second thing you think about is, how am I going to pay for this? Because you know automatically it's radiation, it's chemo, it might be surgery. So all these things pop into your head. So when I found out that I won, I was like, God, you are so amazing. God, you are so awesome. Like, this is the perfect time.
Campbell says that receiving a guaranteed income has also improved her peace of mind and her outlook on the future.
I can go to bed at night and stop thinking, how? How am I going to pay for this? How am I going to get this? How am I going to do this? So it took away the how and it took away the worries. It just allows me to do a little bit more and to save a lot more.
Is there anything in particular that you're saving for?
I want to buy a house. That's my goal. Yeah, that's what I want to do.
Hudson Up director Joan Hunt says she's seen similar effects on other program participants.
We've had participants use some of their UBI funds to repair their car, for example. Some folks are saving the funds. Some folks were able to give their kids a very nice Christmas for the first time in a long time. I've been working in the nonprofit space since 2006, and I have never seen a program like Guaranteed Income that provides families with what their most basic need is, which is additional cash.
Mayor Kamal Johnson is now a member of Mayors for a Guaranteed Income, a nationwide network of city leaders, many of whom are also pursuing guaranteed income programs. Johnson believes that Hudson has a big role to play in learning more about the efficacy of UBI.
We're the little city with big city issues. So whatever happens here is most likely happening in other cities, but we can kind of see the scope of how it affects and the research of how people are spending their money, how they're interacting with the community. We can see that on a closer lens than in someone who's a big city where, there's so many people that, you'll probably lose the person that you're trying to research through the process.
Lyra Campbell, whose husband is now in remission, hopes to see more people receiving the same benefits that she is soon.
Everyone could use an extra $500 in their pocket, unless they're millionaires. Because life happens. And a lot of time when life happens, a lot of time we're not prepared because we don't have the resources. We don't have the financial resources to be prepared. So I would say be happy for anyone and everyone who receives the guaranteed income. Because it's something that makes life easier and better for everyone. And we should want that for each other. In this world, we should want that.